Okay, the recording has started. This is episode of 123 of A Conversation About Art. I am your host, Gabriela Handal. Today I will be discussing the meaning of art and beauty with artist and author Juliette Aristides. If you want to support the show, please check the video description. So, Juliette, please introduce yourself however you think appropriate.
Thanks for having me. I'm a Seattle-based artist, educator, and author. And so I see myself as having all those functions, artist primarily, and then secondarily, author and educator.
Okay. Would you repeat the part about how you see yourself primarily, please?
Well, just like I imagine you're an artist first, and then uh, are interested in people's ideas or philosophies on art and on meaning and beauty and podcasting secondarily. I see that the same for me, where
Okay.
art is the primary focus, but out of that, many artists are interested in so many things, so I'd see myself in that vein.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you for repeating and elaborating. So when how long have you been an artist versus when did you start writing?
So I started studying art seriously at 17 years old and formally pursued that for about 10 years, actually finishing my training in my later 20s. And then did started my first atelier at that point in Seattle, in-person atelier. And I'm not great with dates, but out of my training, and I did a fair amount of writing and reading just as self growth. And then at some point started to preserve what we were doing. And before the internet existed, it was not so easy for people to get training,
Right.
and no one was sure if traditional art was on the way in or the way out. Actually, it seemed like it had been on the way out for a long time. And so the books were really started as a way of recording kind of unified knowledge about what was happening at the time and handed down to us in terms of technical training. And so it became sort of a microcosm of my atelier, particularly, but also a snapshot of what was happening in the realist movement. A broader view of what that looked like. And the book had multiple goals, but the initial books were an attempt to kind of unify what at the time was a very diverse and divided traditional art movement by including people from a lot of different camps, and then also to frame the work that was being done today in light of work that was done historically, because we have lost, art history is a straight line has kind of disintegrated, you could say, towards the end here. And a lot of representational artists and traditional artists, figurative artists, see themselves as part of a longer line of great picture making that goes back for thousands, no, 2,000 years,
Mm-hmm.
and but wasn't being portrayed like that. So my attempt was to kind of correct the record and leave it at that. But it turns out that the movement was, kind of the lights flickered on and off, but since then has really grown and expanded. And so now atelier training and interest in the knowledge, the theoretical knowledge and artist training is the floodgates have been opened.
Mm-hmm. Um. Okay. Um. All right. Just give me a minute. Um. Why? What?
Maybe I could. How did you went to the New York Academy, right?
Yeah, I
What
did.
what what drew you there? Where were you before then? And then what did you do when you got there?
I was in Panama before, where I was born and raised, and I went for undergrad there at an art university called Ganexa. And I was drawn to the New York Academy of Art because of the drawing from life and anatomical study. The historical stuff wasn't mind blowing or anything. I mean, there was some art history, but it was more, I wouldn't say it was like really old. It wasn't really exhaustive or anything. It was very paltry. It was a little paltry. Um, but I'm curious about, so okay, so most of art history, or I don't know, maybe you can polish what I'm going to say here. My muse here. So a lot of art history, or a considerable part of art history, has been representational. You know, from life, we're depicting nature, we're depicting each other, whatever it is, in different ways. And there has been like a sliver of time, which is about 100 years, during which we wanted nothing to do with that for whatever reason, right? So I'm talking about Dadaism and conceptual art and ready-mades, like all of this stuff, right? That has not been around for very long. So why do you think we want? Why do you think that we're looking for that long tradition again of depicting the figure and each other and nature, and like what, you know, why do we like representational art? Why do you think we like representational art?
Well, if I'm not going to give a definitive global answer, but I'll give from my perspective, perhaps. So, if you imagine that art, the impulse to create art, it predates civilization. It predates. So, if you go back technologically and you go from Roman times and then you fast forward to 18th century or 19th century, um, perhaps we'll say 18th, you could drop a person from early Rome into any of those time periods, and technologically they'd be pretty similar, you
Mm-hmm.
know and all of a sudden you have massive mad changes. But for most of human civilization, things have remained fairly stable on a lot of fronts. You have issues of human existence and human consciousness. You have um, often the belief of a civilization as a whole was the belief of an individual. You didn't have massive, massive departures, or if you did, you kind of kept it, you factored your own opinion into the larger view of the world. And so there's never been a civilization that hasn't been aligned to a unified worldview or sense of faith or religion. So if you imagine that the person of today is having to orient themselves in space and time and meaning and answer questions that up till now people have never had to answer. You were born and you were given a set of principles. So I feel like in some ways our time is unique. But let me go back, before kind of going in that way. If you think of, I don't know when the first art was made, but if you go back 40,000 years, there is we have samples of human creativity. You have pictographs, you have
Yeah.
cave paintings. And so if you think that the electric light bulb, I don't know when the first light bulb was invented, but 19th century, late 19th century or early 20th. I don't know, we can look it up. I'm not a master of dates by any means. So if you think before there was any form of comfort, if before we had heat, before we had literacy, even before we had writing, never mind reading, art existed in tandem with a human being, with human consciousness. And art, who knows what it was for, maybe a religious expression,
Mm-hmm.
maybe in a sense of trying to make sense of the world that we're in. Maybe some of it was a hope and a prayer for uh, creating some feeling of ceremony or rite of passage. But all of those things came out of a human being in a community and in a relationship with what was around them. So art isn't unique. Art, if you think of it, is a power. Like, when did love become a thing? it predates all of it. And so our art is, you could kind of see it as a little bit as a life force.
Hmm.
And so as you float that through different civilizations, different people, different goals, and different ends, it becomes used and morphed by the people who touch it and hold it. It becomes an apt metaphor for the expressions, hopes, dreams, aspirations, fears of that culture and of that civilization. And so, in that way, you could say the artistic nightmare that we've often created has either reflected the cultural civilization we've lived. And then your question
You've
about
you've cut off a little bit just these last few seconds.
maybe we could edit that out. We could just
I don't edit the video. It's just that I didn't hear what you said.
well, you could. Your initial question was why we continue to create the figure
Right.
or the figure. You could ask the reverse question: why wouldn't we? The anomaly in human history is to not do that, not to do it. So the fact that we would revert to some degree to that which is most meaningful, which is representations of ourselves, seems really intuitive.
Okay. That makes sense. That's fair. Okay, so then okay, so why don't you tell me what is art though?
Well, let me ask you a quick question. What is it that drew you to the figure and you to the New York Academy and that kind of thing?
What drew me to the academy was their curriculum, which is laden with the study of the figure, either through life drawing or um, um, anatomical drawing. And but before, I mean, obviously, my interest in the figure precedes that. Um, I'm not entirely sure what does, because I have tried some degree of abstraction, and it isn't nearly as interesting as studying the figure itself. And I guess similarly to kind of like the period of time, or kind of like the parallel that you drew between losing meaning or wanting to find meaning again throughout history, and then returning to the representation of the figure because we're looking for that meaning. I guess there's something of that in my wanting to draw the figure, but honestly, I can't say that I've thought about why I'm drawn to the figure. I never occurred to me to ask the question. I just, this is, that's it, and I like it, so I just keep doing it.
Did you find that when you were growing up, you had a moment when you knew you were going to be an artist, or that you had an aesthetic experience where you were aware of yourself seeing beauty and felt kind of called to it? Would you say that influenced your choices at all to
No.
go into art?
No.
What would you say that kind of pushed you in that direction? How would you see your journey as an artist as having started?
Um, I would say that at the time the question was, what is something that I would be okay with doing the rest of my life? And I thought it would be art production, you know, drawing, just making art, or kind of going that way. But it wasn't. It was not like super hyper focused on it. And I mean, I can't say that that I even understood what that meant. I just knew that I liked drawing. Um,
So, did you find it when you liked drawing? Did you like the act of drawing, or did you like the act of looking, or did you like looking at other people's drawings, or was it more that personal experience that you had of concentration and maybe going before nature or any of that?
I would say that it's perhaps a bit of the first two that you said there. I mean, the act of drawing and looking.
Mhm.
And then later in life, meaning really rather more recently, it has become others. It has become a lot more. Um, it has. become wanting to study and understand the figure by just drawing it over and over again, different parts of it over and over again, and trying to understand how like lip becomes node and jaw, I mean, something like that.
Yeah, so it kind of a love of drawing when you were younger perhaps has led you to expand out into your technical training. And then what drew you to, so you've honed in on two questions, what is art, what is beauty, issues that are broad and philosophical without clear cut answers unless they're people have an emphatic opinion. But and so what is it about those questions or the conversation in general that you say is exciting or drew you?
Um, yes, okay. Well, I want to understand both of those things. And I mean, I started the podcast in order to discuss those things and try to understand further those things. First and foremost, because I want to sell my work. And there's something about understanding your product and believing in your product in order to be able to sell it. Because if you don't like what you're selling, you're not going to be a good salesperson. So, or at least if you don't at least understand what you're trying to sell, you're not going to be good at selling it. So, I've always had an issue with the idea or the um, wannabe definition of art as anything you say it is. Like whatever you declare it, whatever a person declares to be art is art. Like that has never felt right. And so I want to look for the definition and, try to congeal it a little bit, at least for me, and I mean, same with beauty. I kind of used to be more okay with the trite platitude of beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And not only is that not a definition of beauty, I'm not okay with that anymore. It doesn't work for me anymore. So I'm kind of like on a search, and I mean, you're right about it being like a really spread shot into the dark. I don't know. I wanted to start somewhere, and I mean, similarly, really, it's kind of a parallel to what is arguably my artistic career as well. It's like I mean, my artistic aims continue to be really rather vague. I mean, I just want to draw. I want to draw the figure. That's about it. I want to study. I want to make drawings of the figure, have it look right. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's super super interesting. Do you feel like issues of beauty can exist in a without a larger context for truth or objectivity? So it seems like you're, or what I hear you're saying, it might not be correct, is that it doesn't feel resonant or right that art would have no definition or no meaning or be up so fluid that it can mean anything at any time to anybody. And likewise for beauty, having there is no objectivity to it feels wrong to you. Do you feel like then the opposite is true, that that the idea of a more objective universal truth exists and that beauty and art would fall under that heading?
Yes, yes, and also to what you said just now about beauty needing kind of a large, really zoomed out kind of view to then be able to observe what are the constants that become beautiful, standards of beauty. Because um standards of beauty, like, if we want to talk about what men and women find attractive for it. Not that that's necessarily beauty, but I would say that it's kind of like a branch of it at least. Um, those things are constant, are at least very similar across time and across cultures, and I think that is very interesting. Like the things that men and women find attractive physically about each other, and I mean, psychologically as well. Um, and I find that to be really quite interesting. And I think like philosophical beauty or like aesthetic beauty also has that kind of consistency throughout time and culture as well. And then I think even if I wouldn't be able to like give you a phrase of what to like give you a definition of like what art is, I think that art is kind of a conduit or a medium for beauty at least. Um, something like that. Does that seem right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is well said, that you're looking at art itself, in a limited, the most limited definition of art would be, uh, a skill or craft, an artist's imagination, a worldview filtered through the medium of painting or drawing or sculpture, through that technical lens. But art wouldn't have the power that it does if it wasn't more fundamental than that. And so for you to say that art, how this relates to you, talking about art as a product, we'll just kind of put that aside,
Sure.
or availability of art, we'll put all that aside, because that's also, pretty specific to our time, or artist content can
Yeah.
all be a one kind of thing. But to use art as a doorway or a portal for a larger conversation on meaning and beauty. And so, if you look at the way the conversation about beauty has been happening for hundreds of years, it's been looked at not thousands, but hundreds, because I think the conversation was different if you go back farther. But the idea of it involving some component of moral good or moral
Mm.
imperative, some idea of nature or universal principles that we see in the world around us, some subjective in the sense of the lens of the eye of the artist as being able to perceive what is beautiful and true. Um, that there exists all those different facets of that, that can be explored and looked at. There's even a really interesting definition of beauty, which involves that which gives the most amount of thoughts in the least amount of time, and that which is the father of aesthetics.
That who was that definition by?
Baumgarten, and he was considered the father of aesthetics, and it's that which generates the most amount of thoughts, the least amount of time, and that our perception, that which challenges our perception, generates that spark of idea. It it it, re, it resonates as beautiful or exciting, and so certainly we've all experienced the beauty of an action that's moved us profoundly, or some would say the synthesis and the laying bare of truth and nature for that moment, the idea of nature, or the archetype, prototype, the ideas, the platonic ideal behind all these manifest forms, that laid bare. You could say something perfect function can also be a form of beauty. So I think we have these different lenses that can be discussed in that, to create something that feels like heartier, you know.
Okay, so um in what okay, so then in what lens or what view do you think would be most helpful, or well, what lens do you find most helpful at least for the study of the meaning of both art and beauty?
Um, can you rephrase the question? And yeah, could you just rephrase it?
Well, yes. So, I guess I'm not entirely sure exactly what I'm asking because I agree with you that the question of what is art and just what is beauty is just like it's a lot, you know. I mean, I understand. I'm aware of that. So then, do you think that maybe, for example, in the case of beauty, do you think it would be better if do you? I mean, do you find it more helpful to maybe try to understand what the Greeks, for example, meant by beauty, or like, or what was beautiful for them, or what was considered beautiful, like for the Egyptians, for example? Um,
Yeah. I think that ideas, I think one of the things you're reacting to is this sort of dissonance between we clearly have ideas of things that people find beautiful. If you've got a Michelin guide rating restaurants, it means that there was an agreed upon set of criteria, which makes some rise up and others go down. And in the case of music, even, which is a closer parallel to
right.
art, you would what sounds dissident would and unpleasant to the ear would obviously fall away over time, even though it could be interesting or energizing, in a context here. And so what I think you may be responding to is how today, what is the role of art today? Does it fall to the artist to try to contextualize what they're doing to make it find a way to have it matter when art has been produced content or commerce? And if there was another avenue for art, one that encompassed ideas, meaning of beauty, what would that be? And how could you live, as an artist, how could you create that kind of conversation? And I wonder if perhaps even your curiosity about this question is perhaps even a longing for that to start to come to fruition. I mean, certainly it's a great conversation and one that should happen more. I think, but thank you for having me. It's fun. I never get asked this stuff. It's really fun. So well, anyway, thank you very much, and I look forward to touching base with you at another time. And keep up the good work.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for coming on, and I really appreciate your